Welcome to NFL Daily, where we love our afternoon tea. I am Gregg Rosenthal here in the talkSPORT studios in London, joined by my friends over in Los Angeles in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio, Patrick Claybon, Jourdan Rodrigue, and Steve Wyche. This isn't going to be awkward at all, guys.
What? Why would it be awkward? We've spent a whole pandemic doing all this Zoom discussion and everything. This is life now.
It's awkward because Greg still hasn't converted the U.S. dollar to pounds. He's still trying to figure that part out.
I can be awkward on any continent I want to be. And yes, this is NFL Daily. If you're just joining the preview show, we break it up between the AFC and the NFC home teams. And this week, we're going to do the AFC teams first. We're 4 across. We've gotten through just about a quarter of the season. I feel like we have things to say and big games to get to.
Oh, the biggest games and the most things to say. And if you're a fan of the NFC, well, one of your teams is featured right here, the Washington Commanders, coming across the Los Estados Unidos to play the Los Angeles Chargers, who are favored by 3 points. The over-under is 48.5. You know this game is big because Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady, Aaron Andrews, and Tom Rinaldi are on the call. Greg, you were afraid. You're like, it's tough to throw my heart behind this Chargers team because bad things happen to the Chargers. Well, they've started to happen. Where do you stand right now?
Yes, I think it was a response to Jourdan calling them the best team in the league. They just had to take the pressure off. That was like a little too much for the Chargers to handle. We learned, as we talked about on our last show, that Joe Alt is going to be out for this game. And that makes me wonder kind of something more big picture. I'm wondering what you guys think about this Washington defense. I know we'll get to the offense, which is going to have Jaden Daniels back by all appearances. Watching their defense lately, it's almost like they got freaked out by the first couple weeks of the season. They want to be an aggressive man coverage team, and Joe Witt and Dan Quinn is going to throw all this different stuff at you. And I've noticed the last couple weeks, they've been much more conservative. They're kind of hanging back. They're blah. Their pass rush is blah. It's almost like they're afraid now of giving up these big plays. And I wonder with this matchup, whether they'll get back to kind of being the fun, aggressive Washington defense.
Well, I think in the case of some of the matchups, it was smarter to play zone. They were coming right off that Geno game where
Not last week.
Ooh.
Greg's coming in
Here Greg is, everyone. Holy cow.
They were a mess last week. That's all I mean.
Okay. No, a couple weeks ago when everyone thought Dan Quinn was going to stay in zone playing against like Geno Smith and all of those types of matchups, it actually was smarter to play Geno in zone based off what the Chargers themselves just had done a week previously. So yeah, you can ramp up and get a little bit more aggressive, especially if you're going to test this Chargers front minus Joe Alt, also minus, as of now, Mekhi Becton, because he's still in the concussion protocol. So it's a lot of backups all along that front. Their only intact is Zion Johnson at left guard and Bradley Bozeman at center. And they hadn't really made a lot of moves, in order to fix that in the offseason, which is one of the frustrating points, I think, for some of the media members in this market here, sort of commenting on that this week. I think the Commanders will get out and test him early, not just with their front, which when they have been aggressive, they look pretty solid, kind of hovering at the middle in pressure and sacks right now.
Yeah, what they've done is they built their defensive front to be better on first down. They're terrible against the run last year on first down. So that's what they've done. So I would expect the Chargers to come on and throw the ball on first down a little bit. And your boy Frankie Louvu is going to be coming through that A and B gap all day long based on some of the issues that they're having. They're going to come. I think they're going to give you an even front look, but a lot of odd front numbers, mathematics. They're going and back end they're playing zone. They're not going to let your boy Justin Herbert get out and run the ball in man coverage. So I'm interested to see how Washington's offensive line is going to hold up. I think they've been a little spotty too. And Jaden coming back, he covers up some of the stuff because my guy Tuli Tuipulotu has been playing his tail off, right? And so he's going to be a problem. They've got to watch out. This is going to be a really good game. I like the 3 number with the Chargers. I think Washington covers, but I don't know coming all the way across, as you said, the country, if they get the W here. This is going to be a good game because Washington's been real Jekyll and Hyde.
They have, but they've managed to hold one of the top scoring offenses in terms of points per game, even without Jourdan for these last 2 games. Now, some of that we could point over at the Falcons defense, perhaps, and take a closer look at the way they've performed. But the Chargers, it popped out to me. They've missed tackles at one of the highest rates in the NFL,
which is crazy
considering how good they've been in coverage. There's spots where we saw Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterboot, guys making plays with the ball in their hands against this Chargers defense when they've been so good in other places. And then Bobby Wagner hasn't missed a tackle all season, which is something that we come to expect. But I just want to acknowledge that Bobby Wagner is still
dealing,
still playing to that extent, with Dan Quinn playing so much nickel. And everybody's is obviously in the 2025 NFL, you're going to play a lot of nickel. But when you have Bobby Wagner and being able to play the way that he does, that's the bright spot. I am concerned about Max Sanders still. In some other spots in this secondary where Marshawn Lattimore got targeted a lot.
Hey man, people this week, teams are going after him.
Yeah,
teams are going after him. I don't know if that hamstring is still bothering him, but that ain't giddying up like it used to. And teams are recognized.
So maybe a chance for, because I know, especially in the fantasy community, people have wondered where Lad has been. Obviously, QJ breaking out and teams being focused on Lad. It's going to happen at some point. Yep. This feels like the spot for the Ladd McConkey 2025 game.
I think he's going to be a tough cover in the middle of the field, and either you're going to send Frankie Luvu on pressure or you're going to send him to try to help with some of this coverage because their perimeter guys are going to be tangled up. That is one thing I will compliment. I did jinx the Chargers. Apologies to the Chargers. But that's something I really will compliment them on is they actually have a lot of multiplicity at receiver and they've got depth at receiver with guys that can challenge your perimeter corners. And then this does open it up for Ladd McConkey to potentially break out. But I think we're burying the biggest lead, which is Jourdan Daniels being back.
Yeah.
And I'm curious how much he will actually run. I feel like the entire Commanders offense and Cliff Kingsbury and Jourdan Daniels especially is watching, Jackson Dart of all people carve up the Chargers defense on the ground and find these big creases to run through, these big lanes to attack. Jourdan Daniels is one of the best in the NFL at picking his spots, understanding how he can challenge a defense like that. And I'm just curious how much they'll cut him loose and let him do it because he's coming off that injury.
My whole thing is if your boy Cliff is going to run the football, got that itchy trigger finger to throw it, run the football. I mean, they've shown, that they can run it. We've seen some games when they lock in, like against the Raiders, they can run the football. Terry McLaurin, he's still iffy. If he's going to play this game, they got to run the football if they want to have a shot. And we know Deion Henley is great of the linebacker playing this game. Is insane. Henley for the Chargers, Greg, he's also a good spy in case Jourdan wants to go ahead and take off and run.
I mean, they're one of the best running teams in the league. Bill is, I think, as fun a running back that gets extra yards as anyone. And they were running when they wanted to all over Atlanta. It is funny to think in this matchup, which coordinator will actually run enough, because Jesse Minter, I know it was just one game, but he was giving Chargers fans Brandon Staley vibes last week. He just refused to get out of that defense. And he took a lot of criticism too, because they were just okay, you're going to give us 5 yards every time. We're going to keep doing it. And Henley and that group, they couldn't hold up front. So I agree with you. It's so weird to be criticizing him and both in Greg Roman for not running the ball enough. The 41 plays that they started last week, the first 41 plays of the game. So it was while the game was close, they ran it 6 times. And Omarion Hampton looks like a total beast.
10 yards a carry.
Looks as good as almost any running back in the league. Every time he touched the ball in that game, he did something outstanding. And yet they just refused to run the ball. So I think it's going to be, who can run the ball a little better.
Yeah, and I do, to that point, who can run the ball a little better. I think Washington will be, running it even more with even more frequency. John Bates might be back this week. He's expected to come back, and he's their backside blocking tight end and one of the key elements of their run game that makes it function the way it does out of that heavier personnel. So I do think that they're going to come out and try to see how well the Chargers can try to stop the run, not just from their front with their back, but also with Jourdan Daniels.
Oh, I just can't wait to see Anthony Lynn, strong arm, and Cliff on like 33.
We're running it.
Run the ball.
We're running it. Put him in a headlock on the sideline.
They're averaging a full 0.3 yards better this season in runs to the left behind Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah.
And so, hey, as folks in Houston are considering,
wait, what?
That 3rd round pick. Hopefully it's great. because that trade's looking not so great in the light right now. Let's go to our next game, Monday Night Football. The Kansas City Chiefs, who are world beaters. They can't be stopped now. 3.5-point favorites on the road against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The over-under is 46.5. Joe, Troy, and Lisa Salters and Laura Rutledge on the call. Can Liam Cohen, Jourdan, summon the motivation of being besmirched by Robert Saleh for a second week in a row and get another win?
We were kind of talking earlier this week that he is a former quarterback, but he kind of acts like that tweet about wide receivers.
Yeah.
Remember? The enemy carries a knife, you know? That
Speaks kindly, but he holds a
he
knife.
holds a knife. Yeah, and so, but no, I love it. I think, honestly, I'm expecting points. The Jaguars defense is obviously so good right now, and they're leading the league in takeaways, and they are swarming to the ball. Devin Lloyd is having an incredible season. Josh Hines-Allen having an incredible season.
Again.
They are so complete in every phase of this defense, but I also think that this just has the smell of a points game, of like a throwback Chiefs and the system that this offense comes out of. Massive, maybe not historic this time around, but massive points game for both sides of the ball. And I think this offense, the Jaguars offense and the Chiefs offense, both, you can see the pieces starting to come together more and more every week, that in prime time on Monday Night Football, it's like where both of these coaches and these organizations want to put everything together. Defense be damned.
I don't see points like crazy. I think I saw some signs with the Chiefs, their defense coming together.
Mm.
It's going to be interesting though, both sides, because I think Eric Armstead is playing his butt off
He's
right
back.
now. Like there's some vulnerabilities where he plays against on that Chiefs offensive line. 46.5 is the number. I think that's probably a pretty good number. I don't think it's going to be an abundance of points here. I think these defense Monday night, they're going to be better on both sides. I just see the Chiefs defense playing better. I think Trevor's going to get into that groove where he's going to give them one or two. I think it's going to be a turnover game, and I like the Chiefs getting some short field and putting some points up.
I love this because, first of all, we will be texting about this. I already know it all Monday. But then also, Steve takes a little bit of a subtle side swipe at Kingsley Suamataia. I think every show, for rightful reason, he just has struck. I'm clocking it. I'm just
this
know.
This is like our third left guard, right tackle conversation.
It's not going unnoticed, just to say.
I just hope they play well in this game, that it is close, whether it's points or not, so that Troy Aikman and Joe Buck continue announcing games, because they felt like they were just about done by the third quarter of that Broncos game. They did not want to be there anymore. And this is maybe my favorite matchup of the week. You mentioned Trev versus Spags. That seems like a pretty big mismatch in terms of Liam Cohen is going to have to protect his quarterback. And you do that with the running game. We spent 15, 20 minutes on the Jags on Tuesday because we just think they're so much fun. And that's a mismatch when they run the ball. This is the weakness of the Chiefs defense is their rush defense, 24th in DVOA. And I'm with you, Jourdan. There was something about Xavier Worthy just returning that sparked joy for Patrick Mahomes and for Andy Reid, that they just felt like, okay, we're back. And I saw some things. It's like, when was the last time we actually saw the Chiefs offense look like this? It's been so long. And I was like, well, how about the divisional round and the conference championship last year? When they were the best in the biggest spots. It wasn't all last year. They were kind of amazing in the AFC playoffs, and I would expect them to be good in this one too.
Yeah. Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs in surmounting the Herculean task of the 2025 Baltimore Ravens defense, where if you look at the top scoring offenses in the NFL, the thing that they have in common is either Lamar Jackson is playing for them or they've played the Baltimore Ravens. I'm interested to see how things turn out in this particular game, because the Jags defense isn't getting lost to the extent the Baltimore will.
Correct.
The pre-snap shifts aren't going to have the entire line overcorrecting and not reacting properly to what's seen in front of them. And we get to see Josh Simmons' biggest test to go up against Josh Hines-Allen.
Yep.
Where we've got a rookie who's top 10 in the league in terms of allowing pressures, and Josh Allen just reaching that stage in his career where that's it, he becomes a benchmark. Obviously, playing against Miles and TJ becomes something, but how you're going to be measured is how you perform in games with opposition like Josh Hines-Allen. And for the folks in Duval to be at Everbank Stadium on Monday Night Football with this record in this season against this team. Like, I'm just excited for that because they deserve this, and I'm taking the Jags.
I like how you said Duval.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg, are the Jags fans over there in London championing this game as well?
I did see a lot of Jaguars jerseys over in Dublin, not so much in London yet, but they better show up for this game. It's a little bit of a thing. Like, they're doing a last-minute ticket push. I don't know if you saw their first game of the year. There was no one in that crowd. It is pretty rare to see 10, 20,000 empty seats at an NFL game. So I think they're actually a little nervous about this game, like making a big push. Like, hey, it's Monday night. It's not hot. It's the Chiefs. Like, let's show up. And with good reason, I think they've been a little, I don't know what the word would be, disappointed in this franchise over the last few years.
Cautiously optimistic is what I would use after watching this version of the Jags for the last couple of weeks. And I just think there's something in my gut that just is telling me, as great as this defense is, I don't think the Chiefs are going to try to run it very much against this Jaguars front that's stopping the run at a 75% success rate.
Man.
Incredible. And the Chiefs are 24th in the NFL with this sort of like herky-jerky kind of rushing attack that at first was going all through Patrick Mahomes, and still Pacheco is sort of finding it, not really kind of thing. And there's a two-back system now, and like all of these different things. I think that he, especially because he can now with Xavier Worthy back, or he thinks he can, I think they're just going to throw and throw and throw and throw. And I think that leads to a lot of explosives. As much as I love how this Jag zone defense, how clean their eyes are, how disciplined they are, how they don't get fooled, like you guys said, by the motions and all of those types of things. Still, this might be Pat Mahomes feeling himself, and this might be Liam Cohen trying to put on a show with his offense that's taken a while to come to where he needs it to be as well.
I like that number, 46.5. I'm taking the under.
Oh, wow.
I'm taking the under.
I'll take an under on targets for Devin Lloyd because he's been targeted 12 times. He's made a play on the ball on a quarter of the times that Devin Lloyd's been targeted in coverage.
And that's huge for him because people were worried about Devin Lloyd, and he's playing his butt off in this game.
He looks awesome.
Leave him alone, Patrick. Leave him alone. The Houston Texans are favored by 2.5 because they should be. Over the Baltimore Ravens, the over-under is 39.5. Ian Eagle, J.J. Watt, Evan Washburn on the call as Greg, no Lamar Demetrius Jackson in this game. We will have Cooper Rush playing.
Laugh. He's good. He's going to be fine.
The redheads are taking over.
I was laughing at Patrick's face.
Are you worried?
I was laughing at Patrick's face, not at Cooper Rush.
Well, I mean, those two things similar categories, similar feelings. Greg, how do you feel?
Well, first, I want to get to Sunday and know for sure that Lamar Jackson is out. It's just one of those things. I don't know if they're going to announce it before Sunday. Like, you just never know. Assuming that he is out, like, I am worried about this Ravens offensive line because they can't pick up the blitz. Like, that has been a huge problem over the last couple of weeks, is their communication. And the Texans don't need to blitz, and they're not really a team that blitzes that often, but obviously two great pass rushers. We'll see if Ronnie Stanley is back, but D'Amico Ryans has had a really good history of calling the right blitz at the right time. And if you're doing that against Cooper Rush, like, if it's working against Lamar Jackson, you know it is going to work against Cooper Rush.
Yeah, I don't think Ronnie Stanley's playing this game. And so, I mean, the one thing, with the Ravens is that they haven't been able to run the ball. I mean, look at Derrick Henry's numbers. It's been like all Lamar. Justice Hill's getting to run the short passing game, and this Houston defense is no joke. So, to me, this game is going to tell us everything we want to know about Houston's offense, because Baltimore's having all kind of issues but on defense. But Houston's offense has just looked a freaking mess.
Yeah.
Now, they've got injuries at running back and this and that, but if they don't get well in this game, this is when, the red flag goes up. Warning, there's going to be a long season. So I think this is going to be an interesting tell. I mean, look at the number, 39.5. So I think Baltimore's going to score, and they're not having a lot of faith in Houston's offense right here.
Yeah, 16 points per game, which is less. By the way, so you want to talk about skewed stats. Houston's offense is only getting 16 points per game right now. Baltimore's defense is giving up 33 points per game.
That's unreal. 33 points in the NFL allowed is terrible.
Insane. And it is the worst in the NFL right now. And it's interesting because the Ravens can't really get it past rush. Kyle Van Noy might be back. Travis Jones might be back. Obviously, these guys were injured. And potentially of the 11 starters that are injured, we don't know about Lamar yet, obviously. We don't know about a lot of these guys yet, obviously. But maybe 8 or 9 of these 11 starters that are injured will play. They need to get some pass rush going. But it might be an opportunity for Houston to just catch a breath for a second and start to put together a little bit more of this plan for this offense. We saw it, in one half last week? Okay, do it against a depleted defense that is playing too loose and giving up too much, and then I'll believe that you really found a spark last week.
Yeah, I'm just banking on the team that has tried and been able to, over the past few years, to do so many different things on offense, to focus on executing just in the pure fundamentals of the game. Without clearly, if I appreciate Greg being hopeful that Lamar plays in this game. I'm out on that, considering the way that the game ended.
I'm with you.
Because if he could have played against the Chiefs, like Coach Harbaugh said, he would have played in the game. And going back and watching that game, the interception by Leo Chenal, where the Chiefs send a blitz and Derrick Henry's picking up Drew Tranquil and Falele is blocking absolutely nobody. He's spinning around looking for somebody while Lamar's trying to get the ball to Mark Andrews, and Chenal picks it off. And there's so many plays like that where the assignments, many people will forget more about offensive line play than I'll ever learn in my entire life. But the unit just hasn't seemed to be able to operate in the pass game, and so much is on 8, which is always going to be on 8. But let's go back to prime Derrick Henry, hopeless Titans team. You knew he was going to get the ball 27 times. That's the only thing that I can try to look forward to in this game, because having that defense on the field is a recipe for a bad Sunday.
And let's not forget Roquan Smith and Marlon Humphrey.
Yeah,
are not playing.
Right.
I mean, they're out for a while. That's up the middle. Nnamdi Madubuike, Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey plays in and out. That is that's what I'm saying. To me, this game will tell us everything we need to know about the Texans offense.
Mm-hmm.
They've looked terrible, and if they don't look better this game, this isn't going to be it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
It's a get out of jail free card though, Steve. Even if they just look okay to bad in this game, but get out of there with a win, because you're playing Cooper Rush and one of the worst defenses, if not the worst defense in the league. They do get their bye week. I feel like maybe it's the schedule gods helping them out. Titans and then banged up Ravens back-to-back weeks before the bye. Can you reset after that? Because the schedule is very tough after that. You have at Seattle, and you have the 49ers and the Broncos and the Jaguars all in a row. These really great defenses. So you're right.
Good point.
It'll show up. I think it'll be more Woody Marks. Woody Marks looked good last week. I think Nick Chubb is a good compliment maybe to Woody Marks. And you look at the success rates of NFL teams in terms of rushing, it won't surprise you that the Texans are 27th. It does surprise me that the Ravens, with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry on the field, are 29th. And that's in designed runs. It's not counting the Lamar Jackson scramble. So the Derrick Henry game is not really working. He's hitting some big plays, but on a down-and-down basis, it has not been working.
Woody Marks had a couple nice reps of pass pro last week.
Yeah.
That'll get him on the field fast too.
All right, it's time to take a quick break. That's 3 games down. We will be back with a little more ugly football. Jets, Cowboys. Back on NFL Daily, and yes, 6 days into my sojourn overseas, my mind is completely mush. That's also true of how I felt at the end of that Cowboys-Packers game. Watching that on replay, I don't know what the heck happened there. They are going to MetLife Stadium this week, and I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place here, Patrick, because on Game Day View, I have incorrectly predicted the Jets will win for 4 straight weeks. It's become almost a bit. And this is a tough one because I truly do believe Dak Prescott is playing quarterback at the highest level of any quarterback in the NFL. I put Josh Allen right there, but those would be my two. So to pick against a quarterback that good, again, for a team that hasn't won a game will be difficult.
Yeah, you're picking against the guy down the sideline that Dak's looking at and inspiring him to score all those touchdowns. It's Matt Eberflus. The Dallas Cowboys are 3-point favorites at the New York Jets. The over-under is 47.5. Jason Benetti, G-Reg, and Pam Oliver on the call, Steve. As we've seen the Jets lose some heartbreakers to the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, my God.
I don't even know how to describe the heartbreaking tie that could have been a win because the Packers made a weird clock decision at the end.
Horrible.
But also, like, could George Pickens not have scored? But then, like, it would have been a weird finish there. How do you feel about this football game?
I like Dallas to a point. Because you look at what the Jets did to the Dolphins. They moved the ball up and down the field, but then they went back, penalty, negative play. Offensively, they got the potential to do some things against a defense that's more than kind. And I'm going to leave it that way. But the self-inflicted mistakes, and as much as people are all over Aaron Glenn about the self-inflicted mistakes, this is almost in the DNA of the green and white. This has been going on for years. So I don't know if it's a type of player they're drafting, if it's a type of coaches they keep rolling through there, but the lack of discipline in the mistakes they make, especially in the look back last year, look back the year before. It's been a nightmare for the Jets, which is why I think it opens up a door for Dallas, which is like I like the 3 that Dallas is getting, not much more, because I think the Jets are going to be able to move the ball on them. But it could end up being like a game like last week because this great Jets defense is not showing up either. So, again, I like Dallas in this game, but that's about as soft of a pick as I'm going to make because I think the Jets have it in them. But if they just stop stepping on the landmines that they planted themselves, they've got an opportunity to be a pretty good football team.
Yeah, I think, we have some sound of Breece Hall. I think he actually summed it up the best this last week when he was talking about the self-inflicted penalties.
Just a tale of, 3 out of our 4 losses. Teams will shoot themselves in the foot, then we come back and shoot ourselves in the head. So that's been the frustrating thing because, we're moving the ball up and down the field at will, how we want to, or we'll come down and, get to the strike zone and then boom, 15-yard penalty, 10-yard penalty, and teams will just sit back in zone and, you can't really – they're willing to give up that 3 and not give up that 7. So that was a frustrating part, turnovers, and then making mistakes on, with, fumbles and all the type of stuff, crazy penalties. It's just been frustrating.
Yeah, so 13 penalties, accepted penalties for over 100 yards last week by the Jets. And I actually kind of have a hot take about the Jets penalties that isn't sunk into the grass or the turf and the fibers of the building. A lot of the penalties that I'm seeing are on alignments and motions and shifts, and that's a getting used to your offensive coordinator thing, and that's the quarterback and the offensive line and all of the players who are in motion just understanding timing better. We talked about this with the Jacksonville Jaguars too. Like this was a similar thing too with the Ben Johnson offense, not just with the Bears recently, but back when Ben Johnson took over the Lions offense. This is what it kind of looked like in terms of some of those penalties early on, specifically with those types of timing penalties. That's why I worry less about the Jets in that regard. And I think the fumble stuff, it changed the entire game this last week. Don't get me wrong about that. The Jets had to move from their A-plus plan of running the ball down people's throats to their C plan, essentially, facing that large of a double-digit deficit so early in the game because the Dolphins were able to march back against their defense on the other side. So I think this is a points game because, yes, you're still going to see some of that stuff, and that will in my opinion, get cleaned up over time. And I think that's going to be an emphasis this week with Aaron Glenn and Tanner Engstrand, who comes out of that Lions tree as well. And I think that to you guys' point, like you're going to see a lot of points because these defenses are not playing disciplined, solid, sound football at all. They're not playing, they're playing loose football, and teams are getting to just do whatever they want against them for the most part, run and pass. And I think Dak and Schottenheimer together is kind of magical. And I think, Schottenheimer and Clayton Adams and Javonte Williams is kind of magical. So I have no doubt that points and points and points will actually happen in this game. we won't be able to find these defenses.
Yeah, you're mentioning the C plan against the Dolphins being the passing attack. It's the A plan against the Cowboys. The Cowboys are the number 32 ranked pass efficiency defense in the NFL. And it gets to a point where it's shocking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just that to see an offense without CeeDee Lamb go out there and play against a good Packers defense and have the performance that they and not able to win the game, not able to have any sort of separation between them and the Green Bay Packers has to be demoralizing for the guys on that offensive side of the ball because I'm having difficulty imagining what more they could have done and to see like all respect to Jordan Love, to Jared Goff. The Cowboys have played against some good quarterbacks here in 2025, but it's not sustainable.
No, at all three levels too.
At this level, rush, linebackers, secondary, bad all around, Greg.
Well, do the Jets have a passing game that could take advantage of the worst pass defense in the NFL? We'll find out. I mean, they did in week 1, and shout out to Garrett Wilson, who is better, I think, than he's ever been. Unlike Sauce Gardner, who I think is having a rough start to his year after getting that big contract. I think Garrett Wilson has been fantastic. I feel bad for him. I feel bad. You mentioned that early Lions staff, Jordan. I'm sort of getting more of an Anthony Lynn vibe as the offensive coordinator for Dan Campbell and wondering, it's early in the season, but at some point, Aaron Glenn is going to look at Steve Wilks, who was not in the NFL last year, and how this defense has been run. And it might take till the very end of the year and wonder, is this the right guy to be running my defense? Should I be running my defense? Because it's not going very well. And that is not likely to continue with the assassin, Dak Prescott. I didn't get to that game until later in the week. And so I humbly submit to you guys a throw of the year nominee from Dak.
Snap is back. Good block from the right tackle. Rolling right, Prescott throws on the run to the right side. Oh, did that ball caught? Oh, please tell me he caught that. Tolbert. Did he catch it?
They're saying catch.
He did his best Michael Gallup down at the 5-yard line. I don't know how Prescott got it there or how Tolbert caught the ball for 34.
Sometimes you got to consider the situation for that moment in the game. It was also just a great catch, which helps. You also got to consider breaking expectations. Dak Prescott doing a little more off script than you expect. He's been doing that all year while getting hit in the stomach, throwing it downfield. That was amazing.
How do you even think of that throw?
Oh,
to considering where
it's
Tolbert
unconscious. It's unconscious.
But that's where he was. He knows he's got a receiver on that route. I mean, that's just, and look, if he wasn't going to catch it, it was going out of bounds. So
yeah,
but that was, I mean, what an incredible play. Dak is playing out of his head. Right?
Yeah, and you're not going to find any argument on that submission from me, Greg, because Nick Shook and I covered it on the Sunday night recap, and we were like, we got to make sure Greg submits this to the throw of the year in the candidacy. Okay, so I really like this statistic that kind of explains Dak right now, that Ben Baldwin does. It's called adjusted EPA, and basically it's EPA, but it's adjusted for pass protection, receiver drops, dropped interceptions, fumble recoveries, etc. It also accounts for the defenses that the quarterback is facing, and Dak Prescott is number 1. So not only is he playing unconscious football right now, he's also doing it with factoring out CeeDee earlier on the season, factoring in the fact that the Packers came in with a really good defense. He's climbing to the top and then some. And I think it's also elevating some of the playmakers, the skill guys around him. All those guys really stepped up for him the other night.
That's a hell of an analytical breakdown, by the way, to take all that stuff into account, which...
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I mean, because there's a whole lot of quarterbacks who did.
That's my favorite quarterback stat.
Who didn't get that mercy. Their first. I don't think Baker Mayfield got that mercy
so cool?
when he was playing with the Browns. I love it.
It's really cool. It's Greg's gonna really hate who's second. But it's just really, really cool. I love context. I just love context. It's awesome.
Yeah,
hate grades, love context.
It's all we can aspire to is to fully contextualize the things that we're discussing. And looking back at that throw once again, Tolbert was 4 yards deep in the end zone when Dak threw that.
Tolbert's a punt returner, and that was a punt.
Yeah, just imagination going wild for Rayne Dakota Prescott. Again, looking forward to that game. Also, Breece Hall The analogy there was very, very heavy, but they have made a lot of mistakes. The Las Vegas Raiders, speaking of mistakes, taking on the Indianapolis Colts, who are favored by 6.5. The Colts suffered a defeat in SoFi Stadium, Jourdan, in a fantastic game. The over-under in this one, 47.5. Chris Myers, Mark Sanchez, and Christina Pink on the call. They're going to want to burn some of the tape. Do they bounce back at home against the Raiders?
Well, one player, bless his heart, because I feel horrible for A.D. Mitchell, but one player specifically will be the one who wants to burn some of that, because I think collectively the Colts still looked really, really good. Some of the quick pressure or some of the all-out wrecking ball bull rush pressure right up the middle by Jared Verse got to Daniel Jones from time to time, but overall I thought he played well. And the irony of this game is interesting to me because it's two quarterbacks in new homes. Obviously, one is working out very well. The other one, he's having some struggles because in part he's missing some of the players around him, not just up front, but also guys like Brock Bowers, who's been banged up for a while. And the irony of it is that on the other side, the other offensive sideline, Tyler Warren and Daniel Jones building that rapport is showing exactly how a schemed up tight end can help a quarterback, especially in a new situation, especially surprising these defenses that have not seen a lot of tape, or at least only a couple games worth of tape on them. And I hate it for Geno because I wish that that the Raiders had this available to them. I wish Geno had this type of player who's on the roster but banged up in Brock Bowers. I wish he had this available to him.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Geno, though, I mean, Ashton Genty, we saw him come alive last week, and he was somebody, and we talked about it. I was a little concerned with it after his first couple of games because he wasn't getting a ton of totes, and he was physical in the first half, and it would seem to wane as the game went along, and now we saw, as the game went on here, he just got better and better.
Yeah.
So continue to feed him. The thing is, this Colts defensive front, I mean, I absolutely love, I mean, you look at the talent, but, you know, Grover Stewart, Kwity Paye, DeForest Buckner, Leatu Latu, we know Zaire Franklin's a tackling machine. Like, this is a bad matchup for the Raiders. I mean, just all the way across. And again, like, Latu is just a fantastic player, but they've got depth on that front. Boy, Luanarumo, I don't think he was the issue in Cincinnati now, was it?
Nope.
He went there, they got some players, and he's showing to do his thing. I like the Colts in this game. I like the number at 6.5 as well. It's going to be a tough run. Bad matchup, Greg, for your boy Geno.
They're all bad matchups right now. Actually, that's not true. I think he's played really well 2 games, and the 2 worst starts of his entire career, including some of those Jets starts. Certainly the worst 2 starts since he joined the Seahawks were the ones that everyone watched, that 3 interception game last week. And it's just weird. He's holding the ball longer than he's ever held it. He's throwing it deeper than he's ever thrown it. And he's just not throwing it accurately. It doesn't seem like he's seeing the field or liking what he's seeing. He's throwing interceptions on like the exact same play against the exact same defense, which maybe tells you a little bit about where they're at offensively. And I'm with you. It's a tougher matchup than I would have expected, Steve. Latu is playing awesome. He kind of is showing why he was the first defensive player drafted last year. I really loved him coming out, and he's taken a little bit to get going, but he's sweet, and they don't need to be great. I think the recipe for the Colts is just to have an average defense. I don't think they're great. I think they're probably average overall, but that's a big upgrade from where they were. They have some holes in their secondary, and the offense is going to possibly carry this team. This is kind of a new test for the Colts. So, like, they're a heavy favorite. They're coming off a loss. They're playing a team. Like, I think when you become like a potential division winner, you have these little check marks throughout the year. And this is just like an early one of like, this is a game they should win. Go win a game you should win.
Great point. That's good stuff. I like that.
It kind of felt like the offense, especially in the Rams game, was missing Alec Pierce. Like
Your favorite player.
He is my favorite player, and I will continue to bring up Alec Pierce. And I think Alec Pierce not being there gave A.D. Mitchell a chance to make that big play.
Yeah.
Of course, it didn't necessarily work out, but to have that amount of talent on the field where you kind of started to notice, and we've been saying it for years, like, wow, if Richardson can get things together, like Steichen and Dimes have got this thing figured out. And the full display of the talent versus over on the other side where we can celebrate. And I'm glad like Ashton Genty went back to his stance. I'm glad he got those
I loved it.
138
I was like Leo pointing at the camera meme.
Why would that hold up?
Yeah.
Why would
Pop it.
that ever be an issue?
Because it's Chip Kelly.
Why would you take a guy who thrives in something as minute as a stance and break him out of that? What the hell was that? Like, I didn't pay that much attention to it until I heard about it, and I'm like, why the hell would you mess with a stud stance?
Because coaches love control.
Yeah, because a massive recruiting budget and the success of several very talented players at Oregon got you anointed as a genius. And ultimately, the results since then have not necessarily justified.
So you're saying the talent at Ohio State's pretty good, too?
Yeah, I think the Ohio State football program was pretty talented as well, because Ashton Jeanty still got hit behind the line of scrimmage on 15 of 21 carries in the Ashton Jeanty game, where it's just he made some great plays. And, Kevin Byard, who was able to sneak around in the middle of the field and pick off Geno twice when he had to be out on the edge and make a play on Ashton Jeanty. Like, you saw what Jeanty was talking about in the pre-draft, like draft the guy they can't tackle. Like, Byard had every opportunity to get him, could not even really slow him down that much.
I saw that and was like, why? Like, what? Like, really? That's what got Mario at Hampton? You got him in the proper stance. That's why he was so good at Ohio State. Oh, Travion Henderson, his stance. What the hell?
Yeah, it's one of those.
I think it's a confidence thing too, and it's sort of a.
Come on.
And I don't necessarily think like the change of the stance was like the ultimate result. Just Jeanty was eventually going to hit a long run or two, and it happened against the Bears.
And I also tend to think that it's a small, like we always talk about opening scripts, right? And how a lot of, especially coaches, sometimes quarterbacks will show you kind of who they want to be and what they want to do, or how much autonomy they have, how much control they themselves have within a certain plan. And so for me, it's like, no, I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world, the stance thing. At the same time, like, I do think that him feeling like himself and feeling comfortable on a professional football field is important for any player. I don't give a crap how high you were drafted. Like, be you and run free. Like, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. One of the worst teams in the NFL in terms of turnover differential. If the Raiders could take care of the ball, maybe they'll give us something to watch. But this Colts team playing pretty good football at the moment. On Sunday Night Football, it's the New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills in this bruising division in the AFC East, where the Patriots have a chance, Greg. They have a chance to make a push. The Bills favored by 8.5 points. The over-under is 50.5. It's Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth.
They got a chance to make a push, Patrick.
And Melissa Stark on the call. Can they do it? I'm going to look at Eric while you say it, Greg.
They could absolutely do
eye
it.
contact.
Why not?
He's shaking his head.
In New England, they're saying, is this the biggest game of Drake May's career? It's like, yeah, well, that's going to be literally every game until they're out of playoff contention. Yes, it is, I guess. It's a mismatch, I think, of massive proportions when the Bills have the ball and the Patriots defense is on the field. It's the number one offense now in the league in terms of DVOA, and they can run the ball. And the Patriots defense, looks better against Carolina, but they've got holes that you can pick on, I think, at linebacker and at safety. We haven't mentioned on this show, and I did want to get in that, they're without their defensive coordinator, Terrell Williams, who has prostate cancer. And that's a big blow to Mike Vrabel's first coaching staff. Look, he was counting on Terrell Williams, first-time coordinator, to be his guy, and he had coached with him before, and he's been kind of off and on the team since starting camp. And so that's maybe part of it. And so Vrabel has to take a bigger role. And can he scheme up anything that gives the Bills problems? Because, they don't really have the players. And to me, it's a big proof of concept and just show me who you are game for their defensive line, because that's where their best players are. Milton Williams has been great.
He's been good.
Christian Barmore is coming off his best game of the season, and Harold Landry has been great. And they're going up against what I think is, at this point, the best offensive line in the entire NFL. So can they do something up front? That's their only chance to me, Jourdan, is like, can those three guys just be great and actually get some pressure and some run stops in a way that no opponent for the Bills has so far this year?
They have to make the entire unit uncomfortable. It's going to take a lot of discipline and a lot of physicality, right? Because that is, you're right. I agree with you. One of the best, top two for sure, offensive lines in football right now, and has been and has the continuity, right? I have no doubt that this Bills offense is going to score plenty of points eventually. But watching the Bills and the Saints last week, I was stunned at times by how many missed tackles I saw from the Bills defense. This is no secret all year, but if you can scheme a couple guys into space and get a couple of like hard run after the catch plays, if you get your backs moving in the passing game a little bit, the way that the Saints did with some of the versatile players that they have on the roster, and if your quarterback can make some plays with his legs, which again was the sort of what the Saints did when they made it really close and a little trickier than I think even the Bills expected, because that defense is so questionable with its tackling, with its ability to bring players to the ground. I have no doubt that the Bills win this game, and they eventually, like they did last week, put up a lot of points in doing it. It is the best offense in football right now. It is also one of the more questionable defenses, not necessarily in terms of philosophy, but in terms of execution and also in depth in some areas. So that's where I really stay concerned with this. We shouldn't forget that this is a Stephon Diggs revenge game either. So we're going to get some sort of meme out of it. We might not get a big Stephon Diggs game, but we will get a meme out of it.
I think Stephon Diggs is going to have a good game.
Yeah.
I think Drake May is playing. Greg, I'm a big Drake May guy, and he is getting better. You can just see him feeling himself. His OC, Josh McDaniels, is not going to make it easy on him because he's going to change the game plans week to week. He's going to try screen death teams every week. Let Drake May play football. But him and Stephon Diggs got something working, as he does with Hunter Henry, right, you're seeing right here when you get in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think New England's going to put points on the board. I don't think this is going to be a game where, they get wiped off the map. Buffalo's the better team, but I think New England's going to score some points and make this a little bit more intriguing.
Don't you love Hunter Henry still out there doing it?
Yeah, and he's got an opportunity to do it, because in terms of like if you go to over on Next Gen Stats, you can sort by the wide open percentage that a defense is allowed. The Bills are at 35%.
I call those wow plays. Remember from last week? Wide open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
wow.
And your acronym game is strong.
and there's been plenty of opportunities against Buffalo. And so, yeah, like Hunter Henry, Stephon Diggs, like these guys are in play. I think there's reason to believe, Greg. I think there's reason to believe.
I do too. I think they have a chance to win this game. I would be surprised if they did, but I certainly would like the 8.5.
I would too.
It almost is like it's like a litmus test, because I think the lowest moment quietly of Bill Belichick's tenure and the beginning of the end for him in New England was that playoff game where he became the first coach to ever have a defense that didn't get a single stop in a playoff game. Josh Allen scored every single time. And Mac Jones was game that day. Mac Jones, coordinated by Josh McDaniels. They scored their points at the, like, Josh McDaniels does a good job coordinating the New England Patriots. In any other job that he's had in the NFL, there's been problems, including even coordinating the St. Louis Rams back in the day. But
yeah, it didn't go
you
well.
mentioned putting a lot on Drake May's plate, Steve. I would say that they're scheming up a lot of open receiver. I mean, it's not like they have guys who win one-on-one. It's a highly schemed and controlled offense where I think May is, as you're saying, looking really comfortable. I think his pocket feel is much better this season. And so he's going to have some big plays that he creates with his legs. But otherwise, I think it's like a nice, tightly managed, controlled thing. It's like a young, I don't know, Josh Allen, if you want to get a little frisky.
Is this a Mac Hollins revenge game too?
I like that.
All sorts of revenge.
Yeah.
Mac Hollins has got like 7 of them.
Yeah.
I know.
He's collecting
a lot of
like
teams.
Infinity Stones.
You know how I knew Drake May was starting to finally feel himself as a pro? When he broke out that Superman for Cam last week. I was so fired up. And then he gave a really almost emotional speech after the game saying Cam Newton is his all-time favorite quarterback because of the way that he played, because of the way that he led.
Mm-hmm.
And he even admitted he stopped being a Carolina Panthers fan when they got rid of Cam Newton. So that made me even a bigger Drake May fan than I already am. All right, let's take one more break on this AFC show, and we will be back on the other side to talk about maybe the best team in the NFL against maybe the worst team in the NFL. Back on NFL Daily, and yes, I teased it before the break. As big of a mismatch as you could possibly have in the NFL right now. It is the Detroit Lions coming in on a 3-game winning streak, facing the Cincinnati Bengals, having been outgained, Patrick, by 500 yards in the last 2 weeks combined.
And which is why it's an eye-popping number that it's not higher. The Detroit Lions favored by 10 on the road at Cincinnati. The over-under is 49.5. Kevin Kugler, Moose Johnston, and Allison Williams on the call. Hopefully they have their calculators out, Jourdan, because I cannot imagine a situation where Dan Campbell's Detroit Lions do not score 50 points in this game.
The carnage.
Wow.
The carnage potential of this game is kind of astounding to think about. The potential. Now anything could happen, guys. I'm not one to rule out like any perceived possibility here, but I think about that GIF that circulated a couple years ago about the young child in the automatic like toy car just rolling over the other child in the front lawn. Not able to stop, not able to reverse, just goes right over him. That's kind of what I picture when I think about, and I'm guys, because I've been, me and Nick Shook filling in for Greg on Monday Night Show this week. I watched that entire game, start to finish. Broncos putting up 500 yards against the Bengals. The Bengals only play because they can't run the ball at historically low rates. Only play being let's try to draw PI down the field to T. Higgins or Jamar Chase. I mean, it is bad, and they could not adjust. They didn't change anything. They were in shotgun the entire time, Steve.
And no quick passing game.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one, look, I like Jake Browning. I think he's a very capable backup, but when he's getting his brains knocked in, like, get a quick passing game, do something, some bubble screens, something to get it going. And they just let's just stand back there and take shot plays.
Yeah.
3 and out. But let's go to this defense, though. I mean, this is one, first off, Puka Nacua and Amon-Ra St. Brown are the two best wide receivers in the NFL right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We can go by skill set and everything, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, but Puka Nacua and Amon-Ra St. Brown are sick, right? And Amon-Ra is going to have some. He might throw a touchdown pass.
Right.
They're going to have some fun because Cincinnati on defense, Trey Hendrickson or not, it is a sieve. And now if all of a sudden they come out and Detroit comes out and gets up 14-0 real quick. Okay, now there's going to be some picks going on. Kirby Joseph, these guys are going to start making plays. Aiden Hutchinson's going to make the Pro Bowl in a game like this. And I don't think it's going to be. Well, yeah, I do. I think yeah. Let's just go ahead and landslide it, avalanche it, whatever. This is. I do like Zach Taylor though. After that game against the Broncos, he came out and was like, we're 2-2. We're in a good place. Yeah, those last 2 games haven't been good. Greg, you didn't like that, huh?
Well, you know what that reminds me of? There's a scene in the show Quarterback where Joe Burrow goes over to, Zach Taylor goes over to Joe Burrow on the sideline, who is furious during a Titans game because they had 6 before the snap penalties on the offense. And they won that game 37-27. And he is so pissed. And Zach's like, hey, you got to try to enjoy the wins. And he's like, we're terrible today. I'm not going to enjoy this. We're brutal. And Zach's over there oh, come on. We got to try to enjoy this. Life is short. And Joe Burrow is having a much higher standard than the head coach of the team, who is kind of going over to him like he's a substitute teacher, just trying to calm the student down. And
I love that.
Thinking that's a bad dynamic. And I don't like that dynamic for this Cincinnati Bengals organization. They deserve better.
Can you do that voice one more time?
My Zach Taylor voice. I got to say, as someone who has been politicking against Zach Taylor for years, to get to this moment is actually unsatisfying because it's just unwatchable. This is the worst situation. Fox took this game and made it the 420. It's a 425 game because they thought it's Joe Burrow versus one of the best teams in the league, and instead it's just one of the best teams in the league. One thing I like though, Patrick, this Lions defense. I mean, I was thinking Jake Browning. Okay, now you don't have to play Minnesota and Denver. It's not as crazy. I mean, if you're looking at DVOA, the Lions defense actually ranked higher than both of them. They're a top 5 defense right now. They're really playing good team ball.
Let me. So I was at the Monday night game when they played the Ravens. The game plan was fantastic, but their linebackers, the way they were able to spy Lamar, Alex Anzalone, who's a great open field tackler, the way they spied Lamar and the way they just locked up the receivers, I was as impressed. I know they lost Aaron Glenn. I know they're going through some changes on defense.
Kelvin Shepherd.
But Kelvin Shepherd is putting together some stuff, and the players are so excited. I mean, when Alex Anzalone is spying Lamar from 7 yards deep and stopping him, like closing as soon as Lamar takes off, that means nothing else is going on for the other team. So Detroit is putting it together with these new coordinators and Jake Browning.
Ugh, bummer.
They got a quick game. Just get it to those receivers as quickly as possible and get the ball out of his hands.
Part of the problem why they can't adjust is because, like I said before, everything's coming out of the gun, which if you have Joe Burrow, that's fine. And I get some of it's too where you're just like, hey, I would like the quarterback to be able to see the defense for as long as possible, but they're not getting any help because they have no run game, so they can't go under center because they're not going to run the ball because they have to make sure that they're in the gun the entire time, and they can't run the ball anyway. So they can't even go into the pistol to keep some semblance of the gun intact and go into their play action game. They have nothing that helps protect the quarterback, and it shows. And I just think, and Kelvin Shepherd, I love watching him coach on the sidelines, because if you want to talk about the kind of defeatist, like, participation trophy-esque mindset of like what Zach Taylor was talking about, right? Like, enjoy the wins, and it's not good enough for Joe Burrow. Kelvin Shepherd is not coaching like that. He's coaching with so much energy. He's like, all of his guys are with him. You can totally feel it. You can almost feel it through the TV screen.
And in a short sleeve gray T-shirt.
Yes.
Like, he is just totally going boot camp in the wardrobe on the sideline
and
as well.
And what did we say at the very beginning? Because this whole conversation nationally about, new coordinators one on each side of the ball and all this stuff. Dan Campbell has an eye for talent. He has showed this over and over again of when to promote, when to uplift, when to amplify the right coaches for the right situations. And I think he's doing that on both sides of the ball.
And as if the Lions needed any more good news, if you're watching our show on YouTube, we just threw up a little graphic, a moment in time of the Bengals offensive line in that Broncos game where they have 4 players blocking one. Meanwhile, their bookend tackles, who sneakily are a big part of this whole problem, both get beaten very quickly by Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper, and poor Jake Browning is about to get absolutely hammered. So that's bad coaching, bad execution, bad resource allocation, bad coaching. It's all bad right now for the Bengals. It's good for those of us who took that Lions over 10.5 wins before the season. I'm feeling good about it. Also, Aleem McNeil returned to practice this week. Not gonna play this week, but that is good for that Lions defensive line.
Yeah, fully operational Lions team. Love to see it. Let's get to London. The Minnesota Vikings get to stay away from the country. They are favored by 3.5. The home team is the Cleveland Browns, but the Vikings have been over there for a while. Again, the over-under 36.5. A family on NFL Network hosting the game. Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma, Sarah Walsh, rise, shine, and watch. Second week in a row. We care about each other over here. I'm glad you're watching this game on the NFL Network. And Steve Wyche, we get to see Dylan Gabriel make his first start in the NFL.
Oh, yes, there it is. We got that. That's really good. I'm thinking politics right here with that. Yeah. But Dylan Gabriel makes a start against this Vikings D, but Carson Wentz also makes another start against this Browns D. But let's go to Dylan Gabriel, because this is going to be interesting. The fact that Cleveland decided to make this change, international game, against someone who's going to scheme the hell out of anybody he plays, and Brian Flores in this defense, but scheme up Dylan Gabriel where there's not a lot of tape. You got about a 5'9", 5'10" quarterback, lefty, but he gets the ball out. I mean, he runs Stefanski's scheme the way it needs to be run. Now, he has not run it in a game, but everything you talk about, he's in the books. He's doing this and that. He's the gym rat guy. Been to training camp, watch him operate it. It looks good. Again, we'll see it in a game. And I'm actually excited to see Dylan Gabriel. I loved him at Oregon. I love how he plays. Again, this defense is going to be hard, but I think if you're going to make this move and you go to Dylan Gabriel, everyone's going to compare him against Shedeur. Shedeur's still third on the bench, and I find it interesting. And you guys tell me a lot of times, seasoned reporters like Jourdan, Patrick, Gregg, and myself, it's what people say but don't say. Joe Flacco, when asked about Gabriel today, hey, look, he puts in the time. He does the work. He does the little things. And I want people to interpret that the way they might as to why Dylan Gabriel is getting the start and Joe Flacco is still the number 2.
I also think you just got to look at the preseason. That Chitter had a solid first appearance, and after that, it went. He got hurt, and it went south. I was impressed by Dylan Gabriel way more than I expected to be in the preseason. I thought his arm was a little more juicy than I expected. Obviously, it's not going to be even NFL average, but he's putting a lot into it, and he made some difficult throws, and I think he knew how to run that offense, and I'm more excited. I don't need to fake the enthusiasm.
There you go.
What are you talking about?
to get ready for this game.
It wasn't fake,
I mean,
Greg. I care about these people, and we get a chance to
felt like
broadcast
a little
the game.
bit. You know who doesn't fake enthusiasm? So right now, I'm taping in the talkSPORT studios, and right next to me, I'm going to take advantage of the fact that the host, Will Gavin, is in the studio, who I'm going to be calling the game with on Sunday. And Will, never a man to miss an opportunity to promote himself, said, hey, we have a viral video going on right now. I share that with Will, by the way. We have a viral video up right now of calling the game on Sunday. He said, well, we should talk about this game a little bit in the studio. So welcome, Will. We'll also, getting the pump primed for the listeners. Will also be joining us on the Sunday night recap show again this year. So I'm excited for this game.
Thank you for having me. Sensational stuff. Patrick, I want to steal that. And can we use that on the broadcast on Sunday? Because I think that's going to get everyone going more than anything else. We'll just have it out of one of the ad breaks. No context whatsoever. Just you screaming about Dylan Gabriel. Sounds good to me.
Oh, no, you had to put the Howard. You have to put the Howard Dean.
They're going to miss the context on the Howard Dean scream. But Will, and I promise you, Greg will accuse me of having fake enthusiasm there.
As someone who was sitting next to it, that nothing fake about that. As someone who was sitting right next to it.
And you know what? Watching that Browns game last week, if you only watched the Browns defense when the Lions offense was on the field, and I'm looking forward to talking about that during our broadcast, but that felt like a matchup of one of the best defenses in the league against one of the best offenses in the league, and the Browns got their share of wins. So if I'm Kevin Stefanski, I think he's looking at what happened last week to Minnesota. I think he's thinking about the way to attack also this Vikings defense is on the ground. And he's thinking we can keep this a low-scoring game, and maybe Dylan Gabriel does give us a better chance to win.
The thing is, you see last week, and you see the Lions scored 34 points. But realistically, actual points scored on the Browns defense is 10. Because 17 of those points came off turnovers, 7 off that huge punt return. 3 of their touchdown drives started from the 3, the 5, and the 20-yard line. You are not putting your defense in a position to win. And when you consider the injuries on the Minnesota Vikings line, if Brian O'Neill seems like he's going to be out for significant time, Ryan Kelly with a second concussion in a space of 3 weeks, they're already missing one of their guards as well.
Donovan Jackson is out for this game, and they announced already. Yep.
It's a huge, huge mismatch. And actually, 36.5 points as the over-under, I think, might be generous. I'm not going to lie.
I agree with you, Will. Absolutely. I mean, I know you're shocked that I agree with you on something, but anything you say.
Jordan, you and I get on like a house on fire. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're beefing with.
I know. It's just keep an eye on it. That's all I'm saying. I feel
that feels worse. I wish you'd just spoke out about it rather than saying just keep an eye on it.
Every time you speak, though, I find myself nodding and smiling just because you're just amazing and a delight of a person.
Oh, stop it.
But I do think it's interesting. I do think that this line is generous, to your point, very much so, because I think this does end up being a defensive battle. And I think part of the reason, there's twofold, some of the reasons why Dylan Gabriel is getting the start now and in this place. And I think it's kind of like baptism by fire a little bit, because you're going to see a lot of stuff that you're not used to seeing. You're going to be in a very unfamiliar environment. The defense, as they have had to do all year, is going to have to lift this offense up as much as it possibly can. And it's Dylan Gabriel playing with a bunch of guys that he came into the same draft class with.
Correct.
A lot of these offensive guys are playing really, really well right now. And it's like, what do we actually have together collectively against one of the most difficult and confusing defenses to play? What actually is there? And so whether or not the Browns win or lose this game, there's going to be a lot of tape that this coaching staff and this organization is going to pour over to try to understand what actually is here among this young collective group that they all came in at the same time. And on Dillon Gabriel, I will say this, not to like humble brag or whatever, but when I got to spend a lot of time with the Rams scouting department for a series that I did a couple years ago, people were already scouting ahead onto the next draft class, the one after the one that was incoming. And when they were scouting tackles, when they were scouting receivers, when they were looking a lot at Oregon, I kept hearing from other teams, some from the Rams, but from other teams, how much this guy reminds them of Tua. When Tua's playing on time, when he's doing some of the ball handling that he does, when he sees the field well, when he can get the ball out quickly, he's got good pronation on it for a lefty quarterback. And he plays sort of, he's very small, but he plays sort of collected within whatever that system is, if the system fits him. And I think, and that's the comp that I kept hearing.
Well, because he broke all Tua's records over in Hawaii as well. And one thing that Dillon Gabriel will do, because he is a little bit more mobile than Tua, but because he's short, I mean, he's really like, when you see him, he's short, but he will move to the point to get passing lanes that aren't necessarily there for Joe Flacco, who's statuesque. So again, they're going to do some more fluid things with their offense. It's what they have to do. So it's intriguing. But Will, let me give you props because, dude, you hit on something that I've been screaming about for 15 years, right? When defenses get scores, like an interception for points, whatever. Oh, this and a couple years ago, the Cowboys, they led the NFL in scoring when they had 10 non-offensive touchdowns. Their offense didn't lead the NFL in scoring. Their team did.
Yeah.
So I'm glad he clarified that point.
That's a pro right there.
In talking about the defensive scores and non-offensive scores going against a team's defense or working against a team's offense, however you want to put it. So well done, because this is where numbers sometimes fool you.
I'm kind of a little bit on the Dillon Gabriel bandwagon, right? I 64 starts in college. They might not have been against the kind of level of opponent that he's going to be facing with Brian Flores and the Vikings defense, but you learn how to do all the operational stuff. Like, it's the opposite of what we saw from JJ McCarthy, even though he had plenty of starts in college himself in those first 2 starts this year. I just feel like, are we going to see, like we've had with Shane Steichen and Daniel Jones, and like we saw with Jackson Dart this weekend, finally a coach who's just got a quarterback who's just going to do what he's told and run the system, and he's mobile enough to do it. And so even though I think they keep it simple for him, I think Stefanski's excited about it.
Yeah, and it's such a mismatch up front for both sides. This Browns defensive line is so great right now, and they're going up against 3 backups for the Vikings. And the flip side, Dillon Gabriel will be running for his life. So I feel like the London crowd, for whatever reason, likes ugly defensive games. We're going to bring one for you. And Will, the challenge will be for you to come up with another viral clip, a great call.
It's going to be a challenge.
You can't lean into it. I'm checking it now. We're at 1.3 million views for your call. You did that. Thank you, Will. He will be back, as I mentioned, on NFL Daily. And yeah, you could listen with us if you wanted on talkSPORT during the game. We're going to be back in just a second and go over all the AFC games. So we'll say bye to you, Will, and stay right here. Let's do the NFC games next. Welcome to NFL Daily, where we're sick of coming up with funny starts to the show. I'm Gregg Rosenthal. I'm here. I'm in London. And we're going to go through the NFC games like the AFC. And like many weeks, it's imbalanced. Fewer games this week on the NFC, but maybe the game of the week does have an NFC home game.
Yeah, a couple teams that won last week. The Denver Broncos at the Philadelphia Eagles, who are unbeaten, but you wouldn't know by listening to the team's coverage. They are favored by 3.5. The over-under, Steve, is 43.5 points. Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson. It is the CBS 1, and they get to see a team that can beat anybody, a team that's really good. I'm talking about both of them there.
Yeah.
But one of them, it's like the sky is falling, and they win every game.
Oh, the sky's falling in Philly?
Yeah.
Oh, that's never happened before. Wonderful fans, wonderful media base, but sky's not always falling. Look, I like the way Philadelphia is playing. They're playing like champions, but Denver's, you start seeing them starting to ascend. And watching Bo Nix, and I'm a big Bo Nix guy. The confidence he is starting to play with, he's got his thing going with Cortland Sutton. I like the way they run the ball. And I think Bo Nix is a part of that. I think they're going to find some cracks in this Eagles defense. This is a really good game. There's 3.5 number. I like the number. Philly's getting 3.5. But I think Denver's got some hot sauce for him here.
I like the way that they have only just recently started running the ball against that Cincinnati Bengals.
But I mean, this is Sean Payton.
Yes,
it's
exactly it. It's basically like you might as well have just given him a blank field to play on, and he's going to show you exactly what he wants to do. And Bo Nix started out kind of rough that first quarter, made a couple of bad decisions. One, a missed throw to Evan Ingram, let go of it too late. Another one, a bad interception, but then picked up a touchdown with his legs, which I think will be a factor in this game because it adds dimension to their run game, Steve. And I also think that his connection with Courtland Sutton is really starting to like reemerge. We saw it last year, obviously, but he hit him on this really, really nice touchdown throw.
Oh man, that was a stick throw.
And the problem for Bo Nix and Courtland Sutton is that they are going to be facing Quinyon Mitchell, who
he's
NFC
real.
Defensive Player of the Week.
He's real.
Vibes last week against Tampa Bay. He had a couple different assignments, but shadowed Emeka Egbuka for 22 of Egbuka's routes, according to Next Gen Stats. Was targeted 6 times, allowed only 2 catches for 6 yards. Was targeted 9 total times by Baker Mayfield, gave up no additional catches. He played, including a great pass breakup targeting Chris Godwin. I mean, he is playing lights out. Incredible defense. Cooper DeJean is a great partner for him in that defensive backfield. They understand each other's spacing. They understand where each other is at all times. They move around. They change assignments. It's a really cool thing to watch, and I think that becomes kind of a nightmare for Bo Nix because he's targeting one receiver very often. He's going to the tight end a little bit too, but Courtland Sutton's his guy.
Guess what Sean Payton's going to do? Going to throw the ball out of the backfield, and he's going to motion the hell out of the Eagles. His personnel packages, hopefully he uses the Cooley package. This is something he hasn't broken out. Now, the Cooley package, dedication to Archie Cooley, Mississippi Valley State. They ran this with Jerry Rice. It's not just a 3-by-1, 3 receivers by 1 on the opposite side. You're stacking them almost in a triple I. 1, 2, 3, one right behind the other, behind the other. Sean Payton uses it. Again, it's his tribute, his homage to Archie Cooley, the legendary Mississippi Valley State coach. He's going to break that out. There's a quick route. There's a deep route. There's another route off of it. This is how you stop a Quinyon Mitchell. You force him to tackle in open space, which Quinyon Mitchell does. But he's gonna scheme them, personnel them, package them as best he can to avoid a great defensive player.
The way the circumstance worked out last week for the Eagles with the Bucs having the injuries that they did, they were able to deploy Quinyon in a sense where you knew that it had to be Egbuka
right
for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the Broncos come in, and while Sutton gets the vast majority of the targets and the opportunity, they can spread the ball around a little bit more. And they haven't had a game where they all put it together. Like when Bo Nix was on against the Bengals, like as the game went on, Detroit Franklin had the drop.
Right.
And then you get to points where Evan Ingram there's still like some inconsistency. They haven't quite figured out how to make that matchup work within this offense and have him get down the field and have him running these go balls that we discussed all offseason. And Sean Payton was saying, we're going to get Evan Ingram down the field. He's going to be a vertical receiving threat along with the rest of this unit. And that's the scary thing for me for this Eagles matchup. A guy that literally just picked the Eagles seconds ago when I sent my email. Where it's just the Broncos have had these spots where it's almost. Like, when do those almost start to hit?
Yeah.
And how good can this team be against an Eagles team? Like we talked about, Greg, the sky's falling. But here in this situation, the Broncos may be able to put a little pressure on the sky in this one.
Yeah. Well, sorry. Go ahead, Greg.
Right. Well, can the Eagles create pressure on Bo Nix? Because I don't really put much into last week. At this point, I think you can downgrade essentially any performance against this Bengals defense. And he was the worst quarterback in the league by the numbers against pressure in the first 3 weeks of the season. But the Eagles aren't really creating a lot of pressure right now. Jalen Hunt has struggled for them. Like Josh Uche has given them a little bit, but they missed Nolan Smith. And for all the talk about the offense, and we will talk about AJ Brown's displeasure with the offense, like the defense has been just fine this year. It's I think 12th in DVOA. Like it hasn't been at the level that it's been a year ago. And it's a great matchup of coaches between Vic Fangio and Sean Payton. It's a Vic Fangio revenge game. These two have come up against each other's plenty of times over the years. But look, it was Vic that helped take Patrick Surtain. And it was one of the more shocking picks of that draft. Everyone thought they would take Justin Fields. Everyone thought they would take Mac Jones. And they took Patrick Surtain. And later that draft, they took Quinn Miners in the 3rd round. He's an all-pro. They took Jonathan Cooper, who might be one of the best 7th-round picks of this decade. So, like, Vic's fingerprints are on this Broncos team, even though it seems so long ago in football years. I love that matchup when Sean Payton has the ball, because I don't think they will get a lot of pressure on Bo Nix.
No, and you can tell how out of his comfort zone Vic Fangio is with their pressure that they are deploying, because he's blitzing more than he ever has. I mean, you got to really be in dire straits for Vic to get him to go outside of what he really wants to do, which is to rush 4 and cover a lot more behind. Like, it's interesting to me watching kind of like the old dog with the new tricks a little bit. So this is going to be a little bit different version of Vic Fangio than the Broncos are used to seeing. That's a cool point about Pat Surtain too, and just sort of a reminder of how quickly these various like coaches' timelines change and intersect with each other, and the really great players who continue on. And this is going to be fun because this is a better game for the Eagles to run against the Broncos, even though the Eagles are not running super well, and they're only getting 1.3 yards before contact per rush, which is 19th in the NFL. So they're not blocking it up well either overall. But so you want to run the ball, but I selfishly would really like to see Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts throwing it around the yard, testing Pat Surtain and Riley Moss, who they win at so often early on. Jake Browning, for whatever reason, throwing the ball, dropping back, throwing the ball the hell down the field, shot plays so often, and they tested at least that corner.
Right.
Now you got 2 receivers, and one of them really wants the ball very badly.
Yeah, I think you're going to see Philly, but not on the sidelines. Okay, like we see A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
I think they got to test the middle of the field against the Broncos if they want to have some success.
Yeah, their offensive line has struggled this year. They are 22nd in the league in terms of run block win rate, 25th in pass block win rate. Like, that's what's been the biggest difference. And this Broncos defense will test them and maybe make AJ, even more angry.
They've got 32 quick quarterback pressures this year to the Denver Broncos, but that's behind the number 1 team, 39 quick quarterback pressures from Todd Bowles' Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yeah. So at the very least, the Eagles have seen pressure. I don't want to say too much, otherwise Nick Benito is going to be, hopping on, posting clips from the podcast. We appreciate you, Nick. Thanks for consuming all Gregg Rosenthal content, which is why we know Nick Benito knows ball, because he consumes Gregg Rosenthal's tweets.
I needed more of that. Daniel Jeremiah broke that news to me that was existing. I was curious why there were so many mentions. I mean, Nick Benito, he went from like the 2nd best defensive player of the year, and he might be better this year. So all the respect to him. That was supposed to be a love letter to the Vikings defense, but little did I know every defense looks like the best defense in the world against Jake Browning.
It's over Jake. It's over the Bengals offense. Come on. That's just Jake.
Speaking of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they are on the road after suffering their first loss of the season, all the way in Seattle against Sam Darnold and the Seahawks, who are at home favored by 3, the over-under 44.5. God, Kevin Harlan is on the call. Trent Green, Melanie Collins there for this matchup. And Greg, the Seahawks have, oddly enough, had trouble at home with Mike Mack. Do they get it done against Baker and Bowles in the game?
Yes, this will be my pick, the Seahawks to win this game. I'm circling it for my picks with Cynthia against the spread. It's a little crazy to me that they're only 3-point favorites, because I don't want to go like put it back to a decade ago, but I don't know if you guys remember, the greatest dynasty of the 2010s was not the New England Patriots. It was the Seattle Seahawks.
No, we remember.
Winning the year-end DVOA championship, I believe 4 straight years, at least 3. They were the year-end number 1, and now here they are back at number 1. Like, if you look at these two teams throughout this season alone, I would say the Seahawks have been one of the best teams in the NFL, and the Bucs have been average and done a really good job being resourceful despite injuries, and have been more of a 2-2 team. So at home with Darnold and having like the longer rest, that's an advantage for them too in this game. Like it kind of should be a mismatch. Maybe that's disrespectful for the Bucs.
Yeah, that's disrespectful for the Bucs because the Bucs do have something that Seattle's looking for, and that's going into every game knowing that they're going to win. Right? The Bucs now have that. I hate the word swagger, but they've got that attitude like you have to beat us. And I think that counts for something. I think that's why Baker is so good in clutch situations. And I think that's why their players show up in the big moments. But I do like Seattle in this game. I like the way Seattle is running the football. Like, regardless of what defense they're playing, they've got a nice combination of running backs. I think Charbonnet is going to be available for this game as well to go with Kenneth Walker. So their offensive line is coming together. This Clint Kubiak stuff is starting to take hold. So we'll see. This is going to be a really good game. I do like that 3 number. I don't think Seattle's, the points are pretty tall here too. So with these defenses. So this is going to be a really good game. I like the Seahawks, but again, I think they're one of these teams, one of 3 or 4 teams that expect to win every time they touch the field.
The Seahawks run game to me is an interesting case study in patience this year for the entire coaching staff and for the players also. And start top to bottom. I'm not talking even about the head coaches, but all the various assistants from, in every corner of that building, because they're not really efficient running the ball just yet. They're 21st in rushing success rate, and they're only getting 3.6 yards per carry. And they're not blocking it the way that they necessarily want to just yet either, because they're number 20th in yards before contact per rush. However, when you go and watch it, and I know that's what you're referring to, when you go and watch it, you see the theory behind what they are trying to do. And I am reminded, and sorry, Seahawks fan, I know you're going to be annoyed by me saying this, but I'm reminded by those early 2023 Los Angeles Rams games when they changed their running game and they went into more of a gap and duo-heavy team. And it was super inefficient for the first few weeks of the season. And then by week 6, week 7, week 8, it blew open and now remains as one of the. And I think that's what the Seahawks have here. I really do think that. And obviously, it's a different scheme. They run a lot of zone and all of that. They're trying to hit the perimeter a little bit more because that's what Kubiak likes to do. But at the same time, I can see it. I can see that the theory is there. I don't know that this is the week that it all comes together because Tampa Bay is one of the best run defenses in the entire NFL. But I love that they're staying patient with this theory and this blueprint of what they're going to do, because I have no doubt they're going to be one of the best running teams come December.
But they hit when sometimes they have to hit, they hit. Right, and that's when you say you can see it. That's what I see. Like, okay, if it's 3rd and 4, they're going to hit a 13, 14 yarder. Again, it's going to be a tough defense, but I like some of the things that Seattle's doing. And Jackson Smith and Jigba, we thought, he's the only guy they have. Well, he's doing work. He's doing work in the passing game.
Yeah.
And there's familiarity there because Clint Kubiak, I think the thing that people remember about one of those Bucs Saints games from last year is like Sean Tucker and Bucky Irving and Rachaad White all going off.
Right.
And it was 51, I think, to 27. Yeah. But the Saints, they turned the ball over 2 times in that game. They had 3 fumbles. They got a couple of them back, but there were signs that despite this shell of a team that Dennis Allen kind of facilitated, that there was something there. And we remember how it started. And I know folks are pointing to, it's like, it's the same coordinator. That this is not the same situation for Clint Kubiak in 2025.
No.
Like, this is a fundamentally different situation.
Correct.
Fundamentally different head coach and defense on the other side, where there's a lot to believe in. The Bucs are just so hurt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, at this point,
up.
to see Bucky Irving in a boot, like saw crutches this week, at some point, and kudos to them for overcoming all that they have to be 3-1 at this point. But this is a lot to ask to fly to Seattle and do this with this team being this hurt.
Speaking of overcoming something, Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold trauma bonding. Baker Mayfield, one of my favorite bits of sound. They're buddies. They've remained buddies. They both overcame their time in Carolina, apparently, if you hear Baker Mayfield talk about it. And Baker Mayfield had maybe my favorite dry quote of the entire week.
You guys reminisce about the good old days in Carolina? What are you talking about?
Reminisce about what days?
The good old days in Carolina?
Oh, nope. No, we don't.
Trauma bond. The best kind of friendship. It's the deepest bond.
That's brevity. That's brevity making impact right there, Baker.
It's crazy that Baker's the one like making more mental mistakes this year, leading the league, by the way, in turnover-worthy plays, which I was kind of shocked to see. He has had a lot of like interceptions dropped, and I know we should move on from this game soon, but like the other side of the ball is why I think the Seahawks are going to win. Like, the Seahawks offense is better, and it's good, and it'll be a good matchup against the Bucs defense, and I kind of like Seattle's offense right now, but the Seahawks, I think, have the best defense in the league, and they're going up against an offensive line with Charlie Heck and Haggard on the right side, and it helped quite a bit to have Tristan Wirfs back. I mean, it does upgrade 2 positions. He's back there at left tackle, and now you have your center back with Graham Barton at his natural spot, but they're weak there. They're thin, and this is like the wrong team to go against when you have injuries on offense.
Yeah.
But we can celebrate another opportunity to discuss a throw of the year candidate, Baker Mayfield to Emeka Egbuka, the seeing eyeball. If we want to take a look back at that, to submit for something for people to think
Baker
about.
Mayfield shotgun from the 24-yard line. Play action fake rolling to his right by design. Still rolling, throws the ball downfield. Got a receiver. Oh, but caught ball. Egbuka to the 30, to the 20, to the 15, to the 10, to the 5-yard line. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. No flags on the field, and Mayfield throws a bomb, and Egbuka takes it away from 2 to 3.
Oh, yeah. I was waiting for that close-up of it because the amount of concentration, you know, as the creator of the Emeka Egbuka Club, we all are members. The concentration to catch that, the placement of it was sick. That was super, super fun. But yeah, Greg, he's taking some risks. He is.
That's what he does.
The quarterback on the other side of the field is actually the one who's number 2 in adjusted quarterback EPA, and he is coming in hot and heavy for the island in a couple weeks. Sam Darnold.
Hold I got something for Patrick real quick. Who's Egbuka's OC at Ohio State last?
Well, he was a genius. He was a genius, and Grizzard is lucky that Chip has paved the road to show us that Emeka Egbuka can be very successful playing football.
There you go.
Thank him. I'm so glad he invented football in the mid-2000s. Great opportunity.
Make sure you catch the other show.
Yes, I do love me some Sam Darnold the way he's playing right now. But I mean, this is the I think it's the best he's played in his career.
That's a drop, Eric.
I think he's playing now. They're protecting him a little bit in terms of like there's not a lot of attempts per game, but he's not a play action merchant at all. If anything, their play action game has been bad. Like he's been better when they're not running play action. And the offensive line is just average, which is an upgrade from what Geno got, to be fair. But like it's just average. Darnold's kind of making plays on his own.
The Geno comforting by Greg is so special.
I know. Well, it's true. All you ever wanted was an average offensive line. They're average. They're just like fine. That's like okay, that's good.
Let's get to the next game. The New York Giants, led by Jackson Dart, will have his first opportunity to start on the road. He's going to have to do it in the 504 against the defeated, generally, New Orleans Saints, but they've been in every single game, and they're a favorite at home by 2.5 points. The over-under is 40.5. Andrew Catalan, Charles Davis, J.C. McCourty, and A.J. Ross on the call. Is this the one, Jourdan? Did the Saints win their first game in 2025?
I think they could. I really think they could. But you know what? Here's the thing. This is the game featuring quarterbacks with maybe an irrational level of dip on their chip, honestly. Like, they make a couple plays that just have no regard for their own lives or anyone else around them, and they will continue to do so through the game. Both quarterbacks on the move is going to be a factor here. I really would like, I don't know, Spencer Rattler, if you listen to this show, but if you do, please start sliding more. You are going head first after almost every option play. I winced every time I saw it last week. This will be a factor here, and it's interesting because this is going to be a tough defense and a tough matchup overall because both of these teams play really hard, and I think people who have not watched the Saints this year will be surprised by how hard this Saints team is playing, despite the fact that their win-loss record does not show it.
Hey, man, all I know is Charlie Brown tried like hell to kick that football, too. He tried real hard to kick that football. Look, here's
That's why they gotta get Spence a win this week.
They have to.
It is sad for me that in the 11 games I think it is that he's started that they have not won yet, and he's running out of time. This is a game for both of these franchises that like the fan bases are like, oh, finally we get a win. Like Saints fans are like, oh, this is finally the week we get to win because we're not playing some great team that's a heavy favorite. And of course, the Giants coming off that week against the Chargers are thinking the same way. And I do fear for the Rat Man that like if they don't win this, it might be the end of the road, even though he's played really well. And it would just, I would just be, my heart would break a little bit for him that he would have to sit back down without getting to feel what it's like to win a freaking football game.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be that.
Ole Miss Nation's coming across that state line to support Jackson Dart as they put another L on another Louisiana team in back-to-back weeks.
Not back to back. Back to back to back.
That's
because
true.
Ole Miss embarrassed my Tulane Green Wave and shot them out of the also receiving votes. It was really sad.
I just think the Giants' defensive front
it's
gonna
sick.
eat. I just think this is one. Spencer Rattler, Alvin Kamara, do your thing, but I just think the Giants' defense is going to be too good in this one. You know, we could talk about these quarterbacks and this and that. This is one, to me, it's plain and simple. The Giants' defense is going to make plays.
And the Saints' defense won't be good because, like the Brandon Staley songs I was trying to throw out there when we went to camp down there, it's not happening. Like that, I don't know.
Well,
I think they've underperformed. Their defense provides very little resistance on average. They've had a tough schedule, but they just don't have a pass rush, and he doesn't seem to have answers.
Well, and look, you've got dudes who've been there for a long time, and Brandon comes in and he overloads. And those dudes are like, yo, man, we had great defenses here for years before you came in here with a whole lot of the stuff you're trying to change. Let us do what we do. And that's why it hasn't translated. But the Giants D, that front gets after it.
The front absolutely does. The front gets after it. And we can celebrate the best
front.
Performance
front
of the Giants 2025 season. Martin Hampton averaged 10.7 yards a carry.
That's true.
Like whenever he got the ball in space, he was able to make plays.
Yeah.
Like when Herbert was able to get the ball in the air to Quentin Johnston, he caught a ball between two defenders and scored a touchdown. This Giants team continues to allow players to hit home runs against them. And that's the Saints' bread and butter. Like you get Rashid Shaheed on a couple where it's like, how confident are we really, considering what we've seen the Saints team be up against this far in the season? Like that Jackson Dart is going to go in there to New Orleans and be dancing in the end zone, like running these RPOs and having all the success they had against the Chargers. I think they just got the Chargers in a bad spot.
And I have to tell you, this guy, they're the Saints. If you go and you watch them from snap to snap too, there are players everywhere on that team that are emerging and they're making plays. Like Kendre Miller is 12 forced missed tackles over the first few games. I'm willing to bet most of them came last week against the Bills defense. Nobody could bring him down. Nobody could touch him. And getting him used in a lot of different ways, putting him in space, getting him on these yards after catch, like quick outlet throws, having him run the ball, like this, he might have something. And so I think that becomes a layer here, especially if you're trying to protect Spencer Rattler from Abdul Carter, who's playing everywhere, outside linebacker. Man. He's playing a little inside linebacker. He's blitzing as a creeping defender.
Yep.
8 pressures, 5 hits, and that was just last week. I mean, it's insane to be doing that much, to have that many roles as a rookie. Now, I know everyone's not us because we know ball, but everyone is going to sit there and be like, "Oh, he doesn't have a lot of sacks." Oh,
but look at the other guys who do.
And look at the pressures. Like he's 19 pressures already.
And Thibodeau and these guys are actually showing up on the box score, and that's because they have somebody else distracting, the attention.
Yeah.
And Dexter Lawrence, I thought, played his best game, even taking away the interception. Like he's starting to create pressure. It's a good defense. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points. I think if you're a Jackson Dart fan, you just got to be worried. Like this pace is a little unsustainable. He took 5 sacks. I think all 5 were on him, just like holding the ball too long. And he carried the ball 12. He carried the ball 12 times if you include the penalty plays. And he's got the play where he's like, pushing down the defender like in the face, but it gets you fired up. But he took some big hits in that game. Like if he gets hit 17 times a game, he will not be long for the starting lineup. We are not long for our Week 5 preview. We've only got a few more games, and we're going to hit them after this final break. Back on NFL Daily, and yes, I arrived in London Monday evening and had an experience going through the Dublin airport I never had before. I was in the middle of the entire Minnesota Vikings organization going through security. Just Jalen Naylor right in front of me having to get his bags checked like a normal person. I guess you can't escape security overseas, and just fly private and just skip all that, because their entire group were doing the same thing as me, buying overpriced stuffed leprechauns in the gift store right as we got through.
Wow, man, you're like nailing some stereotypes there, Greg.
I mean, I'm just telling you exactly what was happening.
Okay.
I literally was in the gift store buying a stuffed leprechaun, and the Minnesota Vikings players were doing the same thing. My son wanted one. He wanted one. Sorry.
Yeah.
They're going to sell it. I'm going to buy it.
And that's what we do. We consume, and we go through customs, and we go
with the Vikings.
Yeah. And some of us are accustomed to picking teams that lose every single week, as I did for the Carolina Panthers last week. But this week might be different. They are at home taking on the Miami Dolphins, who are a 1.5 point favorite. I love I love the one there at all times. Eric Collins, Mark Schlereth, Jen Hale on the call. The Dolphins, of course, lose Tyreek Hill for the remainder of the season. There's questions about 2026. Greg, which Panthers team makes an appearance here in this game on Sunday?
I think the 2025 Carolina Panthers, they're bad. There was that one team that showed up for the Falcons game, and even in that game, they didn't crack 300 yards. They had the same yard. It was a little bit of a fluky game, and they won it, and they deserve it. One of these teams, though, Steve, will be 2-3, and even if I wanted to go ahead and power rank the teams and put them each in the bottom 5, the reality is one of these teams after this week will be 2-3, and I think it's an exciting opportunity if you're the fans of one of these teams or the quarterbacks or the coach. You're gonna feel pretty decent. There's some decent teams out there that'll be 2-3.
Way to sell it, Greg. Well done.
I mean, I just mean it. It's a
I got you.
opportunity. This whole AFC East, NFC South combination this year, some stinky teams are gonna be winning some games.
I'm real interested because Miami's defense was still porous the other day. We saw the Jets just go up and down the field. I mean, Carolina has got offensively the potential to move the ball. I don't know if they can get into the end zone, but getting Darren Waller back really intrigues me for the Dolphins. No Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle's got the speed close to Tyreek Hill, but he's not a deep threat the way that they're used. So the Dolphins don't have the guy who can necessarily take the top off the defense, but they can paper cut you all over the place. And I think Darren Waller, from what he showed in the few plays he played the other day, could end up being an option for what Tua does well. I like Miami to outscore Carolina. There's no defenses in this game. I mean, still Carolina.
Yeah, because Carolina's running the ball okay.
Yeah.
And they look, relatively physical while they're doing it. And while Miami's defense can rush the passer, I still see no signs of being able to stop the run. And so that's where I think Carolina has to try to capitalize and attack this week. On the other side of it, I mean, I'm really excited to see if Miami keeps looking like Miami
offensively,
instead of whatever that sad thing was that was out there earlier this season. Tua looked more confident than I've seen him maybe in years. And I loved the game plan. Darren Waller's renaissance, I guess, if it sustains, 2 touchdowns, and then was on the hands team for the onside kick recovery when the Jets were trying to mount a comeback. But I really liked the scheme. I liked that they ran the ball and they kept running the ball. And he had over 100 scrimmage yards, got to 99 rushing yards, and wasn't even close to that number in rushing yards any other point in this season. And Tua was looking like all the little things he does that makes him a really good quarterback, where he can execute, he can move the launch point. He can do some of those ball fakes, including one sick one behind his back.
Crazy.
That was so cool. where he can change wherever the defense's eyes are going to be, just with these little movements and these little cadences. And then what Mike McDaniel got back to doing, which is what he was doing when he first started coaching this team and scheming guys up on this team, was getting guys free releases off the line of scrimmage, making defenders play with dirty eyes, as coaches like to say, where you're flowing one way and then everything else is going the other way, or the receiver is already blowing by you because you're playing a little too tight and he is coming off the line of scrimmage and changing space and gaps on you via these motions. And I think I would actually trust a little bit more the Panthers run game, which I know has been bad, the Panthers run defense, which I know has been bad, against a Miami run attack that has been start-stop this entire year and only just barely is starting again. I would trust their secondary less. Even without Tyreek Hill, I would trust their secondary way less to be able to handle and adjust to all of the things that Mike McDaniel is going to try to do and Tua is going to try to do to fool their eyes.
Yeah, after rushing for 78 and 61 yards in the first 2 games of the season, and granted, they're up against the Bills and the Jets, whose run defenses have allowed other teams to go. They went for 130 and 123. I think that was the difference in the Dolphins' offense, especially on Monday night, where the misdirections, the fakes, being able to have Tua have time to throw a behind the back pass and celebrate.
That's so cool.
Like the vibes are up because they're moving the ball. they're being successful. Like I feel like that's where the confidence comes from, and what better opportunity to get confidence in the run game than playing against the Carolina Panthers if they can actually commit to it.
Yeah.
If you don't
exactly
get distracted by the opportunity to take shots down the field and just have sustained commitment to the run game, where everybody that's played against the Panthers that's done that has been able to win going away. When it doesn't happen,
oh man, they're eating when they throw the ball too. Though
But that's what I'm
they
saying.
might have the worst like middle of the field ever.
And that's what I'm saying.
It's just bad all around.
That's what I'm saying, Greg, is like I trust no phase of this defense, but I actually, against this particular type of passing attack, I actually trust the Panthers passing defense less than I trust their running defense. And I already don't trust their running defense.
How the hell did they shut the Falcons out?
it's just
30 to nothing.
Their linebackers in Carolina are so bad. The Dolphins offense, I think everyone just remembers that week 1. They've been fine this year. And they haven't been good, but they've been fine. Like they went up and down on the Patriots. They did okay against the Bills. Like they've been okay. They've had a very easy schedule. They're kind of getting away with it on the offensive line because of the matchups. Like they're starting Cole Strange still, the former Patriots pick. Larry Borum is their right tackle. Their rookie 2nd-round pick, who they took high, has really been struggling. So I'm not really feeling either of these teams long term, but I'm feeling the Dolphins on Sunday. Why not?
Borum, I hardly know him.
Okay.
That was a good one.
Sorry.
I know.
So
I
sorry.
do not apologize for that. That was spectacular, Jordan. We'll get to Coach Callahan's Tennessee Titans, also a 1.5 point favorite. No, excuse me. That's just a holdover because I was shocked.
Like,
The Cardinals
boy.
are 7.5 point favorites.
I see. It's on the board
no,
here.
it's the other 1.5 carried from the fence. But either way, 7.5 point favorites of the Arizona Cardinals at home against the Tennessee Titans. Spiro Ditas, Adam Archuleta, and Aditi Kinkawala on the call. And Coach Callahan, before we get to discussion of it, had an opportunity to answer some questions because the seat may be getting hot. I want everybody to get a chance to listen to this.
Do you think this is a resilient and relentless football team?
I know what you're doing there, Paul. I know what you're doing. And I'm not going to answer that shit right now.
Well, I mean, those are the themes that you've tried to cast
Yeah,
on this football team. You're 20-some games in.
Yeah.
And you're stuck.
I'm going to just compose myself here before I say something I regret. But, yes, I think this team is resilient. I think it is relentless. We haven't played good enough football, and I think those are 2 very distinct, different things. We have to execute at a better level. We have to coach better. That's really all I can say.
Greg, it is October 1st. Your thoughts?
Oh, I have a couple thoughts. First of all, I should have mentioned, like Dave Canales was also asked this week whether they would be changing any of their staff, whether they would be looking at organizational changes. It is not a good sign when that's happening. But I especially wanted to point that clip out because it's something that happens in the tenure of every Titans coach. And that's the moment where you let everyone know how much you hate Paul Kuharsky.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Mike
You said
Vrabel,
it.
many of those moments. Mike Mularkey, man, he had those moments. Ken Whisenhunt, you might not even remember, was the Titans coach and had a record I think might have been worse than Brian Callahan, who's 3-18. And he did not last long. I feel bad because I always like Ken Whisenhunt. Mike Munchak definitely had a couple of those moments. Jeff Fisher had those moments. So it is a rite of passage, and I hope that Brian Callahan can get past it, because it's always Paul Kaharski on the other line, and they always say Paul. They always call him by his first name. That's my take.
Look, I'm not even. I'll put it to you this way.
I'm not defending Paul Kaharski or the coach. I think it's all good. It's all good all around.
1,000%.
He's noting the passage of time.
I wrote Paul Kaharski down here and showed it to Jordan.
Yeah.
Because it is a rite of passage, because Paul is a tough reporter. He's seen a lot of bad football, so he's got every right to go and ask these types of questions, report the way he reports. Look, I don't know what the Titans necessarily. The goal clearly is to win. They've got a quarterback in Cam Ward who they think can do it, but what else have they put together? Like I just kind of want to know what they're trying to roster-wise. Everything what they're trying to do, because it's just not great. Now, is this a game that they can possibly go win? Yeah, they could. I mean, I think Arizona's a better football team, but they still haven't figured out, like we talked about Tampa Bay, that when they show up on the field that they should win. They're a hot and cold team. So maybe Tennessee pulls something off and they get Paul Kaharski off the coach's back for a bit. I just don't know roster-wise.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it is. What's like, you talk about looking for an identity. I think they're like a year away from being a year away from looking for an identity.
I think it'll actually be kind of hard for Arizona to move the ball on this Titans defense, which isn't like, I'd put them kind of in the middle, lower third of the NFL, but they have put together some quality snaps. And then Arizona can't really run the ball anymore because they're already missing James Conner, and then Trey Benson is out too.
Yeah.
And he might come back later on in the season, but that's their heart and soul, both guys. I mean, James Conner, certainly. And then Trey Benson is a pretty quality backup to him as well. And there are still errors and issues between Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. I know he had the redemption touchdown and a couple of really nice plays, but there's also been a lot of really bad plays between the two. And this Cardinals offense feels like a team that thinks it's supposed to be this one thing because everybody on the outside is telling them they have to be the wide receiver one and then everybody else team. But really what it is get the ball to Trey McBride and then burn people down the field with whoever else from time to time so that the defense respects the middle of the field. That's what they are, and they should just go to do that. So I think that's where Arizona is having issues. My major takeaway, though, from all of this and listening to some of the quotes out of the press conferences from Tennessee over the last several days is what I really wish someone would have done is ask Brian Callahan, do you agree that we ass?
I think he would agree. I mean, that would be a more constructive question, because like to do the callback thing. Like, yeah, I do understand what Brian Callahan is saying there. I see what you're trying to do, but it's like, what are we learning from this other than we're having this itchy interaction right now,
right,
between you and me?
Itchy is a good word for
it. What's the value when a lot of people work very hard to get in that room, and you've been there for a while, but that doesn't justify wasting everybody's time. Although we did spend time on it today on our show, so perhaps that's a lesson for me. But Cam Ward's been pressured on 44% of his dropbacks.
That's nuts.
But now he's going up against a team with the 10th lowest sack rate in the league in the Arizona Cardinals. And the way that the second half started on Thursday with Sweat coming off the edge and getting pressure on Sam Darnold. And it's like, that's it. But they haven't been able to consistently do that while Cam has been consistently under siege in his first season. His first few games in his first season, and like we get the honesty from him at the podium, and hopefully things get better.
There's a reason why teams have the first overall pick, and it's usually because they're terrible.
Yeah.
I just want them
to
Steve. I feel like they could get sparked for like one game. Could they just win one game? Like, this is one of those games, because if the Cardinals win this game, they might not play that well, and they would be like a very underwhelming 3-2. I think this could be one game that they could do it, because you mentioned like missing the running backs, and The Cardinals are 31st in success rate with those running backs.
Yeah.
I think for all the Harrison stuff, like everything that's wrong with this team starts there. Like they just don't make sense if they're that bad of a running team.
Clayton
and
Adams.
Kyler's not really throwing it short. Yeah, they miss Clayton Adams. I just would like to see these guys, the Titans, get one win. Get everyone off the schneid. Get Spencer Rattler a win. Get you guys home from the studio in Los Angeles. That was it for our Week 5 preview. We've already made it to Week 5. We will be back in this feed in not too long with the Thursday night recap. It's guys' night on Thursday Night Football. It's Patrick Claybon.
Wow, that's never happened before.
It's it's a good point. I guess that's somewhat. I just meant like dudes with muscles. That doesn't usually happen.
Most of them shook.
Cardinals. That doesn't happen either. It's Rams and Niners. We'll see you then.